Guys, what is going on? It's your man Nathan, and I'm here with my friend Joe Lego. Joe, you are the founder of Controlled Madness High Performance. So, dude, what does that even mean? Controlled Madness High Performance, my friend.
Well, it's just I was looking for names and things like that, and just everybody I've ever coached around, they'll probably tell you I'm a little crazy and all over the place, but kind of can bring it all together, and get a common goal and motivate people. So that's always how my brain's kind of been. So I figured, what a better way to bring that out than name your company after it. So those that know me and stuff will tell you it's perfect. Anybody that asks, I'm like, I am a little out there, a little crazy. But that's how I train. Everything is kind of off the wall, but I get what's best and get what's done for the client. So that's what I
Gotcha,
do.
man. Well, Controlled Madness. I know with everybody being stuck inside right now, they're probably feeling a little madness going on. And I know movement and exercise is super important to help reduce stress, anxiety, a lot of things that I think people are probably feeling right now. So, what are some things that people can do if they're stuck in isolation, if they're in like me and a lot of other people right now in the stay-at-home orders? What can we do from the comfort of our own home to stay moving and fit with our exercise?
That's a fantastic question, and I know it comes up a lot, especially you see on Instagram, social media. The virtual training thing is blowing up. I think the best thing that you can do is just keep everything simple. I'll do it in two parts. If you're a person that hasn't really moved a lot, or you're not a big workout person, and this is kind of your time, decided to start changing your life or just get a little bit more movement. And keeping simple. Go on YouTube, find something with high views, and simple things, squats, rows and push-ups. There's a lot of information out there, but start simple. 20 minutes a day, three times a week for 20 minutes. Don't go crazy. Don't download some 2-hour exercise video. You want to keep things simple. You want to keep them engaging. And most importantly, you want to develop a pattern of where, you know, on Mondays for 20 minutes, I do physical activity. On Wednesdays for 20 minutes, I do activity. And what we're trying to do is you're trying to develop a pattern. It doesn't matter right now, especially if you're starting, how many calories you burn or how long or all that stuff. Just kind of focus on integrating, that movement into your day. And for those that are going to gyms and, they're avid gym goers and they're on a plan, the biggest thing that they can do is, try to stick to what you've done. I know some people don't have the equipment, things like that, or they're not really available, but, try to just keep the activity, there as much as you can. If you used to go to the gym for an hour, 6 days a week, then go to work. If you're not a runner, like I'm not a runner, but I started running, just because I'm used to going to the gym, I'm used to that stimulus, but I need something to kind of, and you brought up a great point with the, mental health and things like that. Running releases endorphins, and when you work out, you're releasing endorphins, and, it's making your body feel better. And you really don't realize how much you miss it until, 2-3 weeks in, where you're starting to feel a
Yeah.
little down and depressed out of nowhere. And you're like, I don't really know what's going on, but it's because we've missed that stimulus that's been as part of our life for such a long time. So, just remain consistent. If you're a person that, just starts, be safe, don't do anything crazy, just basic movements. And then you can build based on how you feel. And if you're a person that's, 6-7 days a week, just try to get that activity in there, as much as you can. And, if you don't have any equipment, do push-ups and squats. If that's not good enough, start running down the street, and just try to maintain that sweat and that level of, signal to the brain to, make sure you feel better.
So, bro, the audience doesn't know this. They know it from my side, but if I'm somebody who is, I'm sitting here and I've got a disability, right, of any kind, and I'm like, yeah, man, that sounds good, but I'm not really somebody who can work out or can do even what you're talking about, what advice do you have for me?
I think if, whatever you can, if you're somebody who's, confined to a wheelchair or doesn't have, full range of motion, I think I move within your range a little bit. Not to say the whole workout, but if you're, in a position a lot, you can do some things with your arms. If you're unable to do any of that, breathing is a very big thing. I would maybe take up meditation just to a way to clear the mind. And, you don't need to necessarily move around to, help stimulate the brain. Pick a good book or, listen to some stuff on YouTube that's very enlightening. And, just kind of find your own space for half hour to an hour. If you can't do movements or, something that you're not used to, or obviously, you have something that impedes that, go away for a half hour a day in a room by yourself or, an hour, whatever it takes, and kind of find your own peace, meditate,
Mm,
breathe again. There's YouTubes and things on that. And just kind of center yourself. If things are getting crazy and you're used to, maybe working or going outside or, not necessarily working out, you just used to go and now you don't know. It's very important. I think this is more important than working out. Say yourself, I'm next to a canal every morning. I go outside and I have a coffee in my favorite for a half hour, and I just kind of center myself because in New York, I was, nonstop from 4 in the morning on. So, finding those different ways, I think is very important. But, sometimes, you don't realize that until you're 2, 3 weeks into quarantine and you're, you
yeah.
kind of feel a certain way and you're what's going on. But it's very important to, get a handle on the mental self. So if you can't move around, at least, take that time and take a mental time out, whatever it takes, 20 minutes, half hour. And same thing as I talked about with the working out, start with 10 minutes. If you've never meditated before, not looking into Zen and, control your pulse and things like that, just take 10 minutes, breathe in and out, feel the breathing, feel your body, and, start from there. And then, as you get better and better, you progress.
And man, yeah, that start from where you are is so
Yes.
important. Like if you've never done it before, I Joe said start with 10 minutes, but I would say even if you get 1 minute in and you've
Oh,
never
yeah.
done it before, you're moving in the right direction. Get started with that and then build from there. So, man, thanks for all the info there. I know that will be helpful for people. Let's dive into your story a little bit, though, so people get to know you, know what you're about, and know why you are where you're at right now. So, um, what got you into fitness in the first place?
Well, the journey started. I mean, I was born, 3 months early. I have hemiplegia cerebral palsy. Mine affects my left side entirely, but mine is very minor. I just have, I have walking discrepancy on the left side. When I was born, my mother being a nurse, they were very proactive in everything. So right when I was born, my mom was like, "We're going to do everything we can to." We're going to send him to school and we're going to do everything. The doctors and things wanted to wait a little bit. And it was, very hard for them, as you know, complications, things like that. Very scary time for them. But once I, got out of, the hospital, intensive care, all that stuff, my parents were extremely proactive and I thank them every day, for the way I am. But I went to school very early. I went to, development stuff, I went to therapy all the way through elementary school, and then high school, I started playing basketball. And when we were working out in the gym in high school, I was squatting and deadlifting, but because my heel is off the ground, I do not squat properly, and I was just doing squats and deadlifts, wrong with my heel off the ground, and for 3 years of doing that and just kind of looking at everybody else and trying to imitate, my back gave out one day, and I had pain in my back and my legs bothered me. And I thought, I was like, this is brutal. I was a 16-year-old kid with back pain. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm over here trying to push through it. I had nerve pain. So I had radiating pains and stuff. And it was, it was pretty bad. I couldn't, my pain would run down my legs and it was just brutal. And I went to therapy and God knows about 15 days they fixed me. They were like, do you stretch? And I was like, stretch? I was like, I'm 16 years old. No, we don't stretch. I was like, we just, I play basketball flip-flops on, like, we don't stretch, so that was one of the things. So I kind of started working out a little after that to get better at basketball. And then when I went to junior college, I played for a semester, but if you don't go to class and you go shoot free throws, they kind of take your team, and I got hurt there. I hurt my groin because I don't push off the right way. And when I did get hurt there, nobody really, same thing in high school, nobody really knew what to do. It was kind of like, do what you can and good luck, So I kind of made it a thing where, I didn't want really anybody to ever get hurt, in a sport and have their time in a sport cut short because of the, not almost like ignorance of other people. I've always said, even when I get into the minor league stuff, but, don't let anything that's, off the field affects your career, right? If you're going to go on the field, if you get hurt playing, by all means, if your time comes and you can't play anymore, then that's the time to stop. But, I don't think getting hurt in a weight room or, getting kicked off a team for something stupid is the right way to go. And for me is, not that I was going to make the NBA, but I got hurt twice and nobody had any idea what to do. They kind of put their arms in the air and I was kind of left to figure it out at 16 years old. So that's why I got involved in that stuff, just because, I wanted to make sure that, in the weight room and stuff, regardless of what was going on or patterning or anything like that, I could make my mission to make sure people live the right way. And then just to wrap it up, when I started working out, as the body pulls in different ways. When you have an overactive side and an underactive side and different things, we couldn't do the same exercises because my right time. So I had to kind of dive in a lot deeper than everybody. That's why that actually helped me because I had a very, very vast understanding of the exercise. I went to college by the time I started studying exercise science, I was, kind of ahead of every out for me and my body.
Yeah, man. I think one of the things I want to make sure, because I know I've got a lot of people that have disabilities watching and listening, is the fact that, guess what? When you do this, if you take on something new like exercise, chances are you're not going to go in and you're not going to find somebody that is doing it the way that you do it, like the way that you move, the things that you can do. Chances are you're not going to YouTube and see somebody with cerebral palsy necessarily doing videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I want everybody to know that's okay. It's about knowing that you are in there doing something. And like Joe said, it took him time to figure out the right way to do it. So if you can find somebody who's done it before, reach out to them, man. Because I know if you reach out to me or you reach out to Joe and said, hey, I've got cerebral palsy, I'm trying to work out here, we would be able to talk to you and say, hey, this is our experience. So just because you don't see somebody doing something doesn't mean that you can't do it. That's what I want to leave you with. You could be the person that is meant to start that for other people around you to know that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So you started your journey in exercise science. You basically learned to train yourself. You dove into, well, this is how my body's moving. So when I tried to do it like everybody else, I found out that it injured me because my pattern's completely different than anybody else. Um, After you started training in exercise science, what happened after that?
Once I started doing that, I went to JUCO. I grew up upstate in Newburgh, New York, which is about 60 miles south of Albany and about 60 miles north of the city. I went to Brooklyn and I started, learning exercise science. I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. But when I was in the classroom, like I said, I met a teacher who was the strength coach there, and I did very well in the classes because of the background. And he was like, you should start working with athletes. And I really didn't want too much to do with it. But then, a little bit more pushing and stuff, I started getting involved in strength conditioning. And right away, I walked in there with a team of 30 people. And I was like, this is kind of where I was a little receptive, but I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. And, wasn't right away, but it didn't take me very long to get, there was respect there, right? And I'm always a very social person. I've always been very good at going into groups and talking to people. I think it's, I articulated very early on before I walked. I think it's one of the things that happened with CP. I always say I wouldn't be who I am without it, because I didn't walk. My articulation and my sentences and all that stuff developed very well. So I've always been very good at that, nice, loud, and booming New York voice. So when I went into the weight room, I got a very good response, and I enjoyed helping the kids, and I enjoyed making them better, and I like being able to give them direction. I like that role. I mean, originally I went to school to be a teacher, so I've always kind of liked that thing there. But I went to school for history, and that wasn't really something. So I didn't really want to go to a high school and teach, so I became a coach. And then when you're a strength coach, you have to decide what sport you want to go into, and mine's baseball. So about the end of my undergrad, I decided baseball. I ended up getting the opportunity to go be an intern at Texas Christian University with the football team and the baseball team down there. While I was down there for graduate assistant at IU for baseball, softball. I was the graduate assistant strength coach there. Went to a championship. I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved the kids. I mean, New York Mets. And I actually graduated early. I left. They let me finish my coursework in spring training. So one day I was a student, and the next day I was a professional trainer in Florida. And I went down there, and it was a lot more people, and it was professional, but it was something I knew I wanted to do, and I spent 3 years with them. And then when I came out, I started the business, and I bounced around a little bit. And now, I have the business. I also do strength conditioning at ASA Community College for football. And then I, do some other things. But like I said, man, it's all been a fantastic journey. And everybody always asks, did anybody ever say anything to you or whatever? And the answer is really not a lot, because I have such a overwhelming personality, and I try to be, talk with such conviction. The biggest thing I learned in college is I had a coach who, I really didn't understand it at the time, but he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And what that did was I knew the why for all my programs, and I always knew the why for, why I did everything. So I wasn't, it wasn't like someone was going to ask me something and I didn't know the answer for what I was doing. So I always kind of had a confidence like that. And I always had that kind of social invitingness that I've always had. And it really wasn't until after I went to the minors and all the other stuff, actually in the minors, when I started to realize you can't yell in the minors, you can't make people run, you can't really stand up on your soapbox there. So I really had to dive into the psychological aspect, because either a kid was going to lift or he wasn't, and no amount of fining or anything I could do would make him do that. So I said, well, I would rather see the kid succeed. So I started kind of getting into the psychological thing and really finding out, like, why don't they want to lift, or why don't they like me, or what in their past has kind of caused them to not like authority, or what happened since they've been here that makes them not want to do strength conditioning, or what they don't understand. And then, try to go that route and kind of sit them down and say, okay, what do you want to achieve? Why don't you want to listen to everybody else? How can we make this better so that you can do something, or you can, at least get some working out in, because you need to do it, especially in baseball. You just can't play 160 games and, eat potato chips and, do some stretches. You need to do something. So that was where I got involved in that. And when I went back home in 18, I was the strength coach again at LIU. And I really used that, that system, which is what I use now. And I got it to where, the kids ran their program. I left sessions. I would, step in if anything was happening and make sure everything's on task. So basically, I had the captains. They would warm everybody up. They would come in the weight room. I would explain what we were doing. I would give them a quote or some sort of something mental to kind of chew on while we were working out. I maintained the same theme, but the lifting from the top, if anything happened, anybody disobeyed something didn't show up, I wasn't really going to go on to the coaches. I would let them kind of fix it in house. And they killed it. They won the conference championship for the first time in 52 years. We went to,
Mm.
we went to your state and we got, nicely batted around by Coastal, but it was a amazing experience. And I can't say enough about, the people and everything there. But like I said, the biggest thing I've learned from everything is just mental aspect, and like you said, I'll touch on before, understanding where people come from. And if you're a person that has a disability or somebody that has CP, you have to make sure that the person that's helping you, regardless if they have, they look good or they have a good background, you want to make sure it's in their best interest. And it's not that they're trying to do anything bad, but you always want to make sure that they, they're not going to injure you or anything. Because like I said, going back to high school, the basketball coach at the time was like, well, everybody can put their foot on the ground. Everybody can do this, just this. So just make sure that they understand, they can be the nicest person in the world, they be your friend, but make sure they really understand what you have, because a lot of people, it's not your basic stuff, and I'm sure you've done it for, you get hurt really easy if you do something wrong or try something new, so that's the big thing, don't be resistant, but just make sure that the person helping you is, on the right track and very open to understand what you want, right? To be able to say, hey, does this hurt? How does this feel? How do you feel? Because the worst thing in the world is if you want to start a fitness journey, if you go to the gym for 2 weeks and you hurt and you can't live for 6 months, that's just going to mentally mostly destroy, that kind of inner drive you had in the beginning there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go get hurt real quick, you'll be like, "Oh, this isn't for me,"
Yep,
and
exactly.
be done for sure. Um, so as you were talking, I was thinking, I want to get your thoughts on when I say your adversity is your advantage. What comes to mind for you?
I look at everywhere I've grown, the way I grew up. For me, my CP, you've asked me before, do you look at it as a detriment? And I say, for me, it's always a no. I look at it as I was born with this. My parents fought and went through stress and craziness when I was younger. I had pitching coaches to say, man, you almost died when you were born. Like, you shouldn't worry about anything. You're in a good spot. You have your family. So for me, it's always, I have this, but I always look at it as if I can't do things, somebody tells me that, I'm going to go do it. I mean, it happened in basketball, it happened in strength and conditioning. I've had people say, you're never going to be a strength coach in professional baseball because you didn't play a high level this and you didn't do this. And I just look at it as an advantage. And I also look at it as, I don't think if I didn't have this, I don't think I would be this way. I'd probably be lazy. I don't know. But I just think the inner drive that it brings, has helped me tremendously. And I think it's just me. I mean, my parents, I'm like, well, they did all this, so I had to make sure that I was okay and everything was as normal as possible. And so I need to do this for them. And it's not that them pushing on me, but it's just to make sure that, I'm doing my part. And then, all the coaches and stuff, it's really not an animosity for me. It's, you said I couldn't do this, I'm going to do it. And even now, as I got older, it's people are like, I tell people my story and they're like, really? This is what you've been, why don't you? And I'm like, because it's how it was. I used it to push. And, I don't believe that you should use it as a disadvantage, because like we talked about before, usually there's something else that you're good at. Everybody has a gift. And if you're not, if you don't run and jump and everything like everybody else, I mean, same thing with me, you might have better articulation skills, or you might be able to do something else or motivate people in another way. I mean, I have arguments with plays, well, if you can't do the movements 100% correct, you can't coach people, and then you kind of start that thing. So it's really not all about it's not about what you're missing, kind of look at it as, what in the other column are you better at? If you can't
Mm.
exercise or jump or run and do crazy things, how can you help somebody? Can you explain that better than everybody else? Can you maybe take somebody that doesn't like working out or doesn't understand certain cues, you can get there and you can break that. I mean, the minor leagues, it's not like all 40 of them listen to me. I always talked about it this way: when you go to the minor leagues, maybe every season you'll get 3 or 4 kids that will really listen to you and change. You can't go in there and expect to change anybody, but I think it's find whatever that one thing is, and do it, because everybody has it, and your gift, not your talent. Steve Harvey, I don't know if you ever hear him talk, but he talks about, once you find your gift, that's where, you should live. And your gift isn't something that you work at. Your gift is something that's kind of naturally given to you. And you can find it, but you can't learn it, and I believe everybody has that, somewhere in there, regardless of what it is. it's in there, and I don't think it's limited by how, how we started.
Yeah, man. I think that's powerful because like we all talk about things like equality, right? And I don't think that anything can be equal. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think
Mhm.
that we are not created equal. And like you said, we all have things that we're better at than somebody else. And it's about finding those things. So if I'm really good at lifting weights, but I don't know how to do the movement correctly, then I can find you who's really good at articulating how to do the movement. And guess what? I just got 100% better because I found somebody who had what I didn't have, and I was able to work with them to gain something that I didn't have. So if you are sitting there and you're like, I'm really good at this one thing, like Joe said, dive into the one thing and don't worry about the things where you're not good. Don't worry about those things because you can find somebody else who's good at that and you can join forces with them.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. And just to touch on that too, that's another thing. When I was a coach first starting out, I wanted to control it all, speed, agility, everything. And my second year, I learned if you know somebody who's better at it than you can still learn from them, but you're alleviating kind of the stress of worrying about delivering the best product. And just to touch on what you just said, don't be afraid to talk to other people. I don't, the same thing with the equality thing. I believe that if we were all the same and everybody knew the same information, it'd be a real boring place to walk around outside. So I think if you want to learn something or you're not as, you know, as versed in something, go find somebody. Even if you think you are, you never, know who you're going to talk to or what they're going to offer. So I think the biggest thing from that is just be open to things. If you go to find somebody, and learn something new, if they're not, if they're very negative or, you kind of feel that intuition, then you can walk away, but always kind of be open to stuff because you never know what somebody's going to be able to offer you, and I think by combining that way, that's how, we get better at things. You can sit in your house and be the best at whatever you want to be, but until you get out there and talk to people, I don't think I think you're kind of selling yourself short, not even, everybody else. And if you join forces with somebody else or you, seek out an answer, I think by combining, you can, do twice as more. Two people are better than one and four people are better than one and stuff like that. And, just be cautious and, do your due diligence. But like I said, don't be afraid to ask questions and stuff. And, even with me and, anybody needs anything, I'm always, I always say, text me, call me, send me an Instagram message. Like I have no problems reaching out, regardless of what it is. I mean, I'll talk to you, that's what I love to do. And help as much as I can, and no questions. I always say, no questions are stupid questions. There's wrong answers, but I don't think any questions are stupid questions, because you're asking the question. That means you've taken the time to want the information and, you want somebody to give it back. So I think the only reason that comes about is the person answering the question.
Man, I like that. You've taken the time to want to know the information. I've never heard it phrased that way. So no question is a stupid question because you want to know the answer. I love that. Um, so what's next for you, man?
I don't know. I mean, I'm in Florida here. I'm at, I'm at one of my clients' houses training the kids and things like that. And I'm safe. My family is upstate and they're safe. My sister, I don't know. I think, uh, hopefully speaking is really what I want to kind of dive into. Everybody that just listened realize I'm quite a talker. And I talk a little fast, but I really do want to kind of dive into those things and start speaking. I love training and I've worked everywhere else, but as with CP and stuff, the joints start to break down a little bit, and I'm okay now. But I do know if I, run around and 9 hours a day in the city, things will start to break. So I think I'm gonna, jump into that. I have a few people, that want to start gyms and things like that. So that's the next step. But, right now I'm just trying to, kind of get a handle on this stuff and make sure everything is okay. But truly, after this is done, I believe I'm, start speaking and, start talking more and, getting more opportunities like this. And, Nate, can't thank you enough for allowing me to come on here and share my story. But yeah, for me, especially, this time, and just to tell everybody else, we've been talking about, perspective. This time for me, especially, this is perspective. I'm not freaking out or anything, as long as my family and my parents are safe, I'm here, and every day I think about the next step and what to do. And I'm blessed to be here and kind of healthy. So, I understand, some people have financial difficulties and things like that. And I'm sorry, if that's a situation you're in, but if you are a person that, that's not a thing that waves over you, take the time to kind of think about what you want to do. This is kind of a planet break. This is a break in the world. Like, we are all forced now not to be stuck, but to kind of be in your own head and deal with your stuff and kind of figure out what you want to do. And everything's about perspective. It's not, oh God, I have to stay inside all day. It's okay. Now I have the time to learn a new skill. Now I have the time to, kind of figure out who I am and what I want to do. And the other thing I just want to touch, because I read it yesterday, I think it's great. All the posts coming out about, oh, we have time off now, learn a new skill. You should do this. You should do that. I don't believe that at all. If you need to take the time, this is a very trying time. I mean, there's a pandemic going on. Take the time. If you need this, if we're everybody's out of work for the next month or so and you need a break because everything's, take the break. Whatever's best for your mentally. And I think that's what we touched on before. You don't need to go outside and run a marathon. If you're a high-end stressful person who's not into exercise, just learn to control the mind. And like Nathan said, 30 seconds, a minute, feel your breathing for a minute and a half in the middle of the day. If you're at a household with a bunch of kids and it's insane, take the time, go sit in the bathroom, and just breathe, and take the steps for you to kind of center yourself, whether it's through physical activity or through, breathing and kind of ways to channel mental energy. But I think that's the biggest thing is, you don't need to come out of this, with a bunch of stocks you bought and a new invention to sell people. Take the time to figure out what you need to do, and I.
Yeah, man. And like, even with it being a break, it may be a break from what you were normally doing, but now you, like you said, you got your kids at home, and that's a whole new, like, learning to navigate that is brand new, spending that much time together with whoever you're with. So yeah, I love that, man. If you need the break, take the break. um, and yeah, I think you see a lot of people talking about being productive. Taking a break can be productive, people, for sure. So do what is best for you. um, so if I'm a young person and I'm watching this interview, and I want to speak directly to young people with disabilities, okay? What piece of advice would you have for somebody who's, let's say, a high school kid with a disability right now?
I would say, find out what start to find out what you want to do, regardless of what everybody says or what everybody, thinks you can do and what you can't do, find that thing that makes you happy, and I know being in high school and things like that, you might not exactly know what you want to do, but find something you're passionate about, and even if it's whatever it is, reading books or writing poetry, painting. I mean, strength and conditioning, watching sports, commentating. Find out something that kind of makes you go and pursue that. Especially if you're somebody who people get on you about certain things, or you don't feel, you feel like self-esteem and things like that. Find something in yourself that makes you go and that you can take and use as your kind of avenue, because nobody can take that away from you, regardless of what everybody says, regardless of everybody's perspective of you, even your own perspective of yourself. If you find that something inside you that will make you get up every morning with a smile on your, nobody can ever take that away from you. You want to own what's yours and never let people take it away from you. If somebody can crush the dream that you have, or the thing that you want to do, then you haven't owned it enough. Because if it's
Mm.
yours, then nobody can take away from you. And the other thing is, I don't know if anybody out there listens to Gary Vaynerchuk, but he said, never put a time limit on a dream, right? Even if you have something you want to do and, it's gotten away from you for a few years and things like that, there's never a time limit on something you want to do. So whether you're in high school or you're doing something else, always have that dream. But biggest thing out to the high schoolers and middle school, things like that, find something you like and just go for it. And if people around you don't support you, go find somebody else. There's always people out there. We live in a social media world now. Find somebody else, because there's always somebody out there willing to help you. I know sometimes it seems hard, and like people don't, because social media can get a little, ridiculous. But if you look, there's always people to help you. Send out an email, even if the person, they could have 1 billion followers, and send out an email. Send out a message. It doesn't matter. Reach out, and eventually you're going to find that person who's going to, pick you up. But biggest thing is find what makes you tick, or find what makes you, it doesn't have to be your career. Just right now, just find things that kind of make you want to get up in the morning, and be a better person.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about being younger is, like, explore different things, because one thing, you may think that it's your thing that you want to do, and you go try it and you're like, yeah, nah, this wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. So try things, try, and guess what? Chances are the first time you try, you're gonna suck at it. Okay, let's just be for real. But just because you suck, it's learning a new skill. If you like it and you're like, I'm going to do anything I can to get better, you're going to get better. So just try different things, everybody.
Of
Is
course.
there anything before we get off that you want to leave the audience with today? Oh, we froze a little bit here. There we go.
Oh, what did you say? Sorry, can you just repeat the?
Yeah. So is there anything that you want to leave the audience with here today before we hop off?
Yeah, just what we've been touching on. Life is your own journey. And regardless of how it started or whatever, there's always quotes I read. You have the beginning is the date, and then you have the date at the end. What it matters is the dash in the middle. It doesn't really matter how you started. It matters kind of how you finish, and not even how you finish. What the lasting impact you leave on people's minds. I mean, I have a tattoo at the time that I was born on my wrist. I look at it every day because it's all about impact, and be the best you can be at whatever you want to do. And as you said, try things. If you want to be a broadcaster and you never broadcast, go broadcast. And what's the worst can happen? You're going to fail, and somebody's going to tell you you're not. Who cares? I think it's try all those things that terrify you, and leave a lasting impact. You don't need to be the next Tom Hanks, but do everything you can do so that everybody says, wow, I'm happy I knew that person. I think that's one of the things we need to get back to as a society in general. This whole thing with Kim Kardashian, all these people. No, you want to make a lasting impact on people. You want people, I think when they think of you, you want them to smile and say, wow, this person touched my life and helped me in some way, and I think that's the biggest thing. Do what's, be the best you can, try as much as you can. And everybody you meet, especially, if they're along the same wavelength you are, treat everybody nice and be respectful and make an impact on people's lives. Everybody needs help somewhere, and everybody can use a friend. And for me too, I mean, I have a lot of friends, and they've helped me in a million ways, with my family and stuff. They're always the most important thing, regardless of all the places I've been in minor leagues and everything else. Doesn't matter. My family, my friends have always been the people there that have surrounded me. And it doesn't matter how far I get away from where I grew up, they're always there, and they're always the most important thing. So just cherish those friendships, and, just be the best you can at, whatever you want to do, and again, if you need anybody to, advice, reach out to me, reach out to Nathan, anybody, always here to help. Always, I'll talk to you for 2 hours if you need me to. It's not it wouldn't be a one-time thing either. If you need anything, I'm always here, and I always try to emulate my business that way.
How can people connect with you?
Right now, my website's a little iffy, so Instagram is probably best. My Instagram is, this is how much I love use Instagram. It's controlled HP. It's right on there. My last name is Lego, like the building blocks company. So it'll pop right up. There's only one of me, Joe Lego, and then it comes up. Nice little picture of a brain with some gears in it, with lime green and black. But again, yeah, if you need to reach out. Controlled, Controlled, Madness, Madness, HP. Right there on Instagram. Direct message, send me a link, and we'll talk. And if you need any assistance, questions about anything you heard today, or just in general, want to talk life, I'm always happy to answer questions and push you in directions. And it doesn't have to be about fitness too. I just want everybody to know that out there. I'm not a rah 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 fitness person. If you want to know what career to jump into, or what you should do to the next step, or how you should handle this, I do that too. One of the things I do in my business with younger kids is, I deal with the little things like that. The weightlifting and things is about maybe 20% of what I actually have found to do. So anything you need help with or assistance, always here to help.
And with that, man, the last question I've got for you today is, what does no label defines me mean to you?
I think that it means that regardless of what people will say you are or how you are, I think it's all about your perception of who you are. Everybody's always perception is reality, and I've always been kind of against that, because if somebody's reality is different than yours, then we're going to have an issue. That's always been, I think it sets up kind of a little bit of an argument. So the thing for me with me is that, I don't think you should have a label. I think it's how you see yourself. And regardless of what everybody else says, usually if somebody has something negative to say to you or wants to put you down, there's a problem with them and not you. So always remember that, right? Usually, most of the time, 90% of the time, when somebody's angry or spiteful or has to pick on you or has to say something mean to you, it has to do everything with them and has nothing to do with you. So I know it can get hard at times, but if you just stay strong and don't kind of bite into that negativity, there is no label for you. I think, you make of what you think yourself is, and that's your definition of yourself. So I don't think anything that anybody says about you should dictate your life.
Awesome. Guys, with that, you can catch us next week for another episode of No Label Live. And you know that you're up to big things. And when you're up to big things, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit. Your label should never define you. It should always, always empower you.